In the summer of 2022, I decided to quit my corporate job working in finance. And all I can say is, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Since that day, I've been able to pursue my passion, creating content for a living. But I was only able to quit my job and do that after I'd learned these three things first. But first, a quick word from our in-house lawyer.
Viewers should be advised that the following video contains ideas towards quitting your 9-to-5 job to pursue your passion. We would like to warn viewers who are quite content in their 9-to-5 jobs that this video might not be for you, and instead of having this idea shoved down your throat, you might want to turn it off.
Wait, why would they click on this video in the first place then?
Now we've got that out of the way, let's take a look at how the pandemic actually taught me the first thing that led me to quit my job. For those of you who are living under a rock.
Good morning!
In 2020, the world was hit by
COVID restriction called COVID tested positive. The new COVID cases of coronavirus.
Okay, I think we all know what you're talking about. Wait, one more just for luck. Coronavirus! And as the world started shutting down, people started losing their jobs. A lot of people. In fact, the US even recorded the highest unemployment since records began during the pandemic, which then in turn led to so many people resigning from their jobs that it even got a name of its own. The Great Resignation. Wait, people getting fired led to people quitting their jobs? Huh? Well, it turns out that if you mix the magic ingredients of loads of extra work because half of your colleagues have just been sacked with the mental stress of not being allowed to leave your house because you're currently in a worldwide lockdown, you would probably end up with the following thoughts. I don't think I'm valued at this company anymore. This job does not pay me well enough at all. I'm only working at this company because of their foosball table. It was a really nice football table. Essentially, a massive amount of people were realizing that they'd much rather live to work than work to live. Is it work to live? Oh, I don't know. You know what I mean. Now, I was actually one of those people that had neither quit their job nor resigned during the pandemic. I did also start my job after COVID had started, so maybe that was a reason. However, the company I worked for wasn't isolated from what was going on in the rest of the world. And only a couple of months in, my manager's manager, so essentially someone really senior in the company, was given the boot and told they were no longer needed. Despite having given decades of their life to the company, as well as being an unbelievable leader, in my opinion, they were let go just like that. And it was at that moment that I actually learned the first thing that would lead me to quit my job. And that is, there's no such thing as a safe job. I'd thought the company I was working in wouldn't do something like that. But it made me realize that however safe you really think your job is, once you're no longer needed at a company, they will let you go. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, the pandemic's over. Nothing like that's ever gonna happen again. But the next thing that I learned was definitely happening for the past 100 years and definitely will be happening for the next 100 years. After getting my first full-time job in 2020, I suddenly realized that I've got no idea what to do with the money. But I did know what I needed to do to change that. I should probably start reading some books on finance. So that's exactly what I did. I read book after book about financial literacy until I discovered the two most important magical words. Avoid taxes. That's not what happened. Sorry, let me try that again. Compound interest. More like it.
We would like to state that we do not actually believe in avoiding taxes, and that this has been used as part of your entertainment to try and be funny, even though it really wasn't that funny.
Not this shit again.
We hope that everybody watching this video pays their taxes in full.
And what's the most important rule when it comes to compound interest? I hear those of you asking who have never heard of compound interest. It's investing as much money upfront as possible because the most important factor when it comes to compound interest is time and not finding the most outrageous return, but instead letting it invest for as long as possible. Whew. So nerdy me set about calculating if I invested those £200 I was saving anyway into something like the S&P 500 for the next 10 years, how much would I actually make? And that was when I found out that I'd only make 40k. So back to the drawing board I went. But this time I tried to squeeze my savings as much as possible and managed to save double, £400 a month for the next 10 years. And this time, this is how much I'd return.
Only 80k? That's not enough to retire and build Lego for the rest of my life.
And that was when I finally figured out the problem. The money you save is limited by the amount you earn. The money that you can earn is, well, unlimited. Which brings me to the second thing that I ended up learning. When you work for someone, your earnings will always be linked to your time. I decided at that moment that I was going to dedicate my hours outside of work to building up a passive income. Now, stop. I know you're literally typing into the comment section, oh, money doesn't buy happiness and that shouldn't be the reason that you quit your job. Firstly, rude. I literally gave you a disclaimer at the beginning of the video.
Viewers should be advised that the following video contains...
Wait. They can go back to the beginning of the video if they want to watch it themselves. And secondly, this is only one of 3 reasons, and you want to wait till you hear the third before you write that comment. But before I do tell you that third reason as to why I quit my job, we first need to talk about an Australian nurse, and her name was Bronnie Ware. Bronnie worked in care for patients who were living in the last few months of their life. And being in that position, many of them ended up sharing with her the top regrets they had towards the end of their life. In fact, the number one regret which they had ended up being the third and final thing that I learned, which eventually led me to quit my job. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life that was true to myself and not the one that others expected from me. Now, I've been kind enough to you to break this down into a beautiful framework that I definitely came up with on my own. I randomly called it the regret minimization technique.
This is a lie. We do not commit copyright. It was Jeff Bezos who said this.
Jeff Schmeff, what does he have to say about it?
We will now cut to the tape proving our point.
And the framework I found, which made the decision incredibly easy, was what I called, which only a nerd would call, a regret minimization framework. So I wanted to project myself forward to age 80 and say, okay, now I'm looking back on my life. I want to have minimized the number of regrets I have.
Moving on, I had grown up my entire life thinking that there was only one path that was the right one to take. It was get good grades, get a good degree, get a good job, get a good salary, get a nice house, die. But putting these three lessons together, you realize there are so many different ways that you can actually end up living your life. That was just one of an unlimited number of paths. I know that I've been extremely lucky in being able to find my passion at such a young age, and despite it being the riskier path, I've worked hard to make sure that that is the path that I'm able to follow. And whilst the Andrew Tates of this world are shouting to you about getting out the Matrix,
the Matrix is trying to control your mind. They're very good at it.
I know that there are so many people out there who want to live in the Matrix and find their passions within those roots. And that is something that is just as incredible and amazing and that you should pursue. All I hope is that after you've watched this video, you'll be inspired to take those first steps to find that passion, to find that thing that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning. Then hopefully you can start using that free time to manufacture that life for yourself. These three lessons helped me to get there, so hopefully they'll help you to get there too. And if you decide that you want to go down a similar route to the one that I ended up going down, you're going to want to look at these 4 rules about money, because it would have made my life a hell of a lot easier if I knew them earlier.